My parents left me a worthless farm while my sister got the family fortune. My inheritance was nothing more than a lonely ranch in the middle of a desolate desert. My parents, boasting an immense fortune, left me with what felt like a cruel joke. They must have been convinced I would never amount to anything with such a useless piece of arid land. Yet they were profoundly, utterly wrong. I am Amelia Donovan, the younger daughter of Henry and Margaret Donovan, titans in the high-stakes world of Wall Street finance. Our family was a symbol of unbridled wealth and power, controlling an investment empire worth hundreds of millions. Charlotte Donovan, my older sister, was the golden child. Poised, brilliant, polished to perfection. She was everything my parents wanted, an heir worthy of their legacy. Meanwhile, I was the odd one out, the daughter who never quite fit into their meticulously curated world. While Charlotte pursued a top-tier MBA and effortlessly juggled high-profile clients, I followed my passion, sustainable energy, and strategic consulting. To my parents, my interests were unimpressive, lacking in both status and profit. They never outright said they were ashamed of me, but their disappointment was impossible to ignore. In their eyes, I was a failure. Then tragedy struck. Their private jet went down on a flight from New York to Los Angeles. Just like that, they were gone. The media swarmed with tributes to their genius, their legacy, their unshakable dominance in the financial world. But the worst part? They died without ever seeing my worth. The reading of the will took place in an opulent Manhattan law office. Sunlight streamed through the polished windows, casting a golden glow over the mahogany conference table, a reflection of the Donovan family's untouchable status. Charlotte arrived draped in couture, her posture exuding quiet superiority. Aunt Beatrice, our family's longtime fiduciary, sat beside her, meticulously ensuring every clause of the will benefited Charlotte's best interests. I sat at the edge of the table, my stomach knotted with unease. I wasn't expecting much, but still, some foolish part of me clung to the hope that I might receive something of real value. Mr. Green, our family attorney, adjusted his glasses and began. All investment holdings, corporate stock, the Manhattan penthouse, and all liquid assets are hereby transferred to our eldest child, Charlotte Donovan. Charlotte's lips curled into a knowing smirk. She flicked her gaze toward me, her amusement barely concealed. I swallowed hard, bracing for my own share of the inheritance. Then Mr. Green continued, "To our younger daughter, Amelia Donovan, we leave the Donovan Ranch in Arizona." Silence, heavy, deafening, then laughter. Charlotte's sharp, mocking giggle sliced through the room. "A ranch," she repeated, her voice dripping with faux sympathy. "Well, Amelia, I suppose they thought you'd handle livestock better than money." Aunt Beatrice's expression flickered with mild surprise at the blatant imbalance, but she remained silent. Loyalty to the family legacy meant more than fairness. I sat frozen, my breath caught in my throat. My parents, with a fortune in the hundreds of millions, had left me with dirt, dust, a lifeless patch of desert. A final, glaring reminder that I was nothing in their eyes. Charlotte rose gracefully, walking toward me with that same insufferable smirk. She placed a delicate hand on my shoulder, a gesture of feigned concern. "If you ever find yourself strapped for cash," she murmured, "just know I'm here to help. At a fair interest rate, of course." My nails dug into my palms, but I forced my face into an impassive mask. I refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. Little did I suspect then that the neglected Arizona ranch would become the best inheritance anyone could ever hope for. Nobody present realized I was on the cusp of flipping everything upside down. I left the attorney's office clutching a single envelope, which contained the ranch's deed and an ancient, rust-flecked key. No trust fund, no stocks, no slice of the towering Donovan empire, and certainly no influential say in any of the family's corporate affairs. Charlotte swept out to her chauffeured car without even a backward glance. I didn't wait around for justification or pity. If this piece of land was the only thing my parents saw fit to grant me, I was determined to discover the real reason behind it. 3 days later, I boarded a modest flight bound for Arizona. After landing near Tucson, I rented a rickety pickup truck. The 2-hour journey to the Donovan Ranch felt like endless highways, swirling desert dust, and stoic cacti sprawled to the horizon. Finally, a battered wooden sign proclaiming Donovan Ranch appeared before me, instantly filling me with a mix of trepidation and curiosity. Sitting on 200 acres of desert terrain, the ranch had once belonged to my grandfather, Lionel Donovan. He was the only member of the family who truly believed in me. When I was small, he would recount stories of his life here, describing how he immersed himself in experimental projects that people said were ahead of their time. My father, on the other hand, dismissed the place as an ill-fated boondoggle, a wasteland of scorching sand and prickly cacti where Lionel supposedly wasted away in his final days chasing illusions. Dad's casual dismissal echoed in my mind, but the instant I crossed the creaking wooden threshold, something stirred within me. There was an intangible energy in the scorching wind that brushed my skin, as though the land itself was whispering that hidden marvels were waiting to be unearthed. The main house, a tired two-story structure, teetered in disrepair, with steps so frail you wondered if they could bear any weight at all. The windows, with warped shutters, groaned in the desert breeze. The interior was coated in thick dust, and the scent of musty timber filled the air. After rummaging through aging furniture and flipping through dusty shelves stocked with old books, my attention shifted to the immense barn looming on the property. It was far larger than I remembered, its structural reinforcements hinting at something more significant than standard farm machinery. My gut told me this barn was the nexus of the ranch, the place where my grandfather's greatest secrets might be hidden. The barn door groaned when I inserted the antique key, impossibly old, yet it fit perfectly, like reuniting two halves of a broken keepsake. Sunbeams lanced through cracks in the aged planks, illuminating a portion of the interior. The faint light revealed dusty crates, aged ledgers, rows of archaic tools, and an inexplicable sense of disquiet. As I surveyed the barn's interior layout, an odd realization dawned on me. The inside area felt even larger than what the exterior logically allowed, as if it concealed more than the eye could detect. A faint memory from my childhood resurfaced. Grandfather Lionel had once taken me to this barn, swearing me to secrecy about a hidden chamber. As a naive kid, I brushed off his stories as harmless fantasy, but in that moment, I sensed he had been serious. My father had searched the ranch countless times, convinced that Lionel had squirreled away something valuable, but never uncovered any sign of it. I recalled the steps from that long-ago conversation with eerie clarity. Tap 3 times on the northern wall, then push the 4th wooden plank upward. My heart pounded as I followed his precise instructions. The plank slid away, exposing a narrow passage framed by swirling dust motes. A hidden staircase stretched into inky darkness beneath the barn floor. With my phone's flashlight in hand, I swallowed my anxiety and began my descent. Each step downwards unleashed an unexpected chill in the air, distinctly different from the scorching sun above. The walls were reinforced, not by casual additions, but a methodical blend of steel and concrete, seamlessly integrated. When I reached the bottom, I nearly forgot to breathe. In front of me lay a cavernous subterranean laboratory, equipped with a labyrinth of filing cabinets, half-covered desks loaded with geological charts, shelves brimming with dusty documents and advanced instruments that looked more at home in a high-tech research facility than a dusty farmland setting. Crates were meticulously labeled, many containing mineral specimens. Some had labels that read "Successful Trial" or "New Composite." At the far edge of the underground chamber, a hefty vault door coated with decades of dust stood silently. My eyes flickered across the markings. Although I lacked formal mining expertise, I recognized certain geologic notations referencing potential drilling spots. With trembling hands, I lifted a weathered folder that read, in my grandfather's distinct handwriting, "Lionel Donovan, Lithium Extraction Project." Lithium! I whispered in disbelief. Suddenly, so much of my grandfather's cryptic stories made sense. He hadn't been squandering his final years. Instead, he had been engrossed in unraveling the secrets of a vast lithium reserve situated directly beneath the Donovan Ranch. Hurriedly, I leafed through the pages, discovering detailed extraction methodologies aimed at maximizing efficiency and minimizing ecological harm. Exactly the kind of forward-thinking approach that entire industries had overlooked until recent years. This deposit was poised to be one of the richest lithium veins in the country, if not the entire continent, and no one else realized it was here. I approached the vault with bated breath. The lock was old-fashioned, yet robust. I tried Lionel's birth date, no response. Then my father's, still no click. A moment of inspiration struck. Perhaps it was my birth date. The mechanism whirred, and the door unlatched. Inside was a small USB stick and a folded letter. The letter, written in my grandfather's shaky script, read, "Amelia, I safeguarded this project from relentless profiteers, but I always trusted you'd find it. On this USB are the complete patents and methods for this lithium extraction. Protect it. In the wrong hands, it could bring untold harm, or it may usher in an era of cleaner energy for our world. You must decide." My heart hammered. This wasn't just a desert ranch. This was a potential gold mine. But it was also a massive responsibility. If my family, especially Charlotte and Aunt Beatrice, uncovered the treasure trove hidden beneath the desert sands, they would stop at nothing to seize it. That entire night, I pored over each detail of grandfather Lionel's blueprints, cross-referencing them with the physical evidence around me. He had discovered one of the most consequential lithium pockets in America, an essential element for rechargeable batteries, electric vehicles, and renewable energy systems. With that came the potential for billions of dollars, but also the risk that unscrupulous individuals might exploit or ruin the environment. Update: a family's secrets, a billion-dollar discovery. I realized that if I wanted to develop this find responsibly, I had to proceed immediately and in complete secrecy. By sunrise, I had assembled a mental checklist involving 3 key phone calls. 1 to secure the patents, 1 to confirm the deposit's authenticity, and 1 to lock down funding. I wouldn't let my family or anyone else sabotage this resource with short-sighted greed. The following morning, I stepped out onto the weather-worn porch and dialed the first number. George Harrington, a seasoned attorney specializing in intellectual property. I had met George during my foray into renewable energy projects. He was discreet, skilled, and possessed the legal clout to protect these groundbreaking patents. "Amelia, it's been forever," he greeted me in his level tone. "An early call means something big is happening, am I right?" Without revealing the full scope, I explained, "I've come across some invaluable technology. My grandfather's work. I need to protect it with absolute secrecy." George wasted no time. Within an hour, I forwarded him a secure digital package containing the entire scope of Lionel's lithium extraction innovations. He promised to file the patents under a layered shell corporation, ensuring no direct link to the Donovan family would appear in any public records. To me, this was a crucial defensive measure. Charlotte would be furious if she ever discovered the patent was out of reach. My second call was to Bella Kim, a renowned geologist who had once served as a university professor before transitioning to a career advising top-tier mining ventures. Bella and I had previously collaborated on a green energy study, so she knew my dedication to responsible progress. "Amelia!" Bella sounded amused. "This is quite the surprise. What can I do for you?" "I need your professional evaluation of something massive," I told her, deliberately vague over the phone. "You need to see it firsthand to understand." Intrigued, Bella arrived at the Donovan Ranch 2 days later, bringing sophisticated survey gear. After scouring the property for hours, she returned to me with wide, electrified eyes. "Amelia, do you know what you're sitting on?" she asked, breathless. "Based on these test results, this could be the largest lithium reserve in the United States, maybe even beyond. If your grandfather's method is as efficient as it looks, it would completely upend the world's supply chain for lithium." Though I expected as much, hearing it confirmed by an expert sent a wave of adrenaline through me. If we managed to harness the deposit responsibly and refine my grandfather's approach, we might become pioneers in the shift toward cleaner energy. Bella pledged her unconditional support, offering to help finalize the extraction techniques until we reached a position of unassailable market dominance. The third call was to a man named Owen Chambers, an influential venture capitalist known for pumping resources into disruptive startups and innovative green technologies. He was well regarded for sniffing out the next big thing, not to feed his ego, but to spur meaningful changes. "Owen, I've uncovered something with the potential to alter the entire lithium market," I told him. His interest was immediate. "I'm in Los Angeles for a few more days. If your claim is real, I'll check it out." We arranged a discreet meeting in a low-key executive suite. Over the course of several hours, I revealed a portion of grandfather Lionel's notes, carefully omitting any location details or genealogical links to the Donovan name. When Owen finished reading the documents, I saw genuine astonishment etched on his face. "So, you're telling me you have not just a significant lithium deposit, but also a novel extraction technology that reduces overhead and environmental damage?" I nodded. "I'll need capital and strategic connections to make it viable on a large scale, but I refuse to compromise on the environmental aspect." Owen gave me a measured smile. "Count me in for $100 million. You'll form a new entity, no mention of your surname. If that's how you want it, we'll keep everything under wraps until we're ready." That was exactly what I had anticipated. Rather than tying the new company to the Donovan brand, I founded Teralith Solutions, an entity shielded by multiple layers of corporate anonymity. Within weeks, every patent, every legal right, and every newly acquired drilling permit was set under Teralith's name. The hush-hush nature of the operation ensured that Charlotte and Aunt Beatrice would remain oblivious, believing I was merely wasting away my time on an irrelevant desert ranch. In a matter of months, Teralith Solutions transformed the once-neglected Donovan Ranch, where others saw only cacti and sand, into the foundation of a cutting-edge lithium extraction site. My team, which included Bella and a core group of skilled engineers, relentlessly refined grandfather Lionel's blueprint, enhancing it for modern industrial applications. We were able to reduce typical extraction costs by an extraordinary margin and drastically minimize the impact on the local ecosystem. No one suspected that the worthless ranch belonging to the lesser Donovan daughter would soon be recognized across tech and environmental circles as a game changer. Then, in a flash, Teralith Solutions burst onto the global stage, finalizing massive contracts with leading automotive and electronics corporations starving for stable lithium supplies. Tesla, major smartphone manufacturers, and even global battery producers showed interest, catapulting Teralith from an unknown to a heavyweight in mere months. The financial press awakened to the phenomenon. Teralith Solutions, the secretive startup reshaping lithium extraction. The headlines roared. Overnight, the company's value soared from a modest $100 million initial infusion to a staggering $1.2 billion. With that kind of meteoric rise came intense media scrutiny, and I knew it wouldn't be long before Charlotte discovered what was happening. Sure enough, early one morning, my phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unmistakable number. Charlotte, the sophisticated queen of the Donovan Empire, was on the line. Am I wrong for not letting my family have a part in a huge discovery I made? So, this is a story about the Donovan family, the one I was born into. The family that always saw me as the lesser daughter. To give some context, my grandfather Lionel was a genius in his own right. He invented a groundbreaking lithium extraction method decades ago. Unfortunately, the Donovan family had no interest in supporting or even acknowledging his work. When he passed, all his patents and notes were just gathering dust. That is, until I stumbled upon them. I realized right away that if I wanted to develop this find responsibly, I had to proceed immediately and in complete secrecy. By sunrise, I had a mental checklist of 3 key phone calls. One to secure the patents, one to confirm the deposit's authenticity, and one to lock down the funding. I wasn't about to let my family, especially Charlotte, sabotage this just because of their greed. The next morning, I stepped onto the weather-worn porch and dialed the first number. George Harrington, a seasoned attorney specializing in intellectual property. I had met George years ago during my renewable energy projects. He was discreet, skilled, and had the legal clout to protect this innovation. Amelia, it's been forever, he greeted, his voice calm. An early call means something big is happening, right? Without revealing too much, I said, I've come across some invaluable technology. My grandfather's work. I need to protect it with absolute secrecy. Within an hour, I forwarded George a secure digital package with the details. He promised to file the patents under a layered shell corporation, ensuring no link to the Donovan name would show up in any public records. This was crucial. Charlotte would be furious if she knew the patent was out of her reach. The second call was to Bella Kim, a renowned geologist who once served as a university professor before transitioning to advising top-tier mining ventures. Bella and I had worked together on a green energy study, so she knew how dedicated I was to responsible progress. Amelia, she said, sounding amused, this is quite the surprise. What can I do for you? I need your professional evaluation of something massive, I told her, keeping it vague. You need to see it firsthand to understand. 2 days later, Bella arrived at the Donovan Ranch with sophisticated survey gear. After hours of scouring the property, she came back with wide, electrified eyes. Amelia, do you know what you're sitting on? She asked. Based on these test results, this could be the largest lithium reserve in the United States, maybe even beyond. If your grandfather's method works as efficiently as it looks, it could completely upend the world's supply chain for lithium. I already suspected it, but hearing it from an expert sent a wave of adrenaline through me. If we could harness the deposit responsibly and refine my grandfather's approach, we could become pioneers in the shift toward cleaner energy. Bella pledged her support, offering to help finalize the extraction techniques. The third call was to Owen Chambers, a venture capitalist known for investing in disruptive startups and innovative green technologies. When I told him what I'd uncovered, his interest was immediate. Count me in for $100 million, he said. Form a new entity. No mention of your surname. We'll keep everything under wraps until we're ready. I established Teralith Solutions, a new company shielded by multiple layers of corporate anonymity. Within weeks, all the patents, legal rights, and newly acquired drilling permits were under Teralith's name. The hush-hush nature of the operation ensured Charlotte and Aunt Beatrice had no clue. They still thought I was just wasting my time on a worthless desert ranch. In just a matter of months, Teralith Solutions transformed the once neglected Donovan Ranch into a cutting-edge lithium extraction site. Bella and I, along with a core group of skilled engineers, refined grandfather Lionel's blueprint. We cut extraction costs drastically and minimized the environmental impact. The world would soon see that the useless ranch was, in fact, a game-changer. Teralith Solutions quickly made a name for itself. We signed massive contracts with Tesla, major smartphone manufacturers, and global battery producers, skyrocketing the company's value from a modest $100 million to $1.2 billion. But that's when the trouble started. One morning, my phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unmistakable number. Charlotte. Amelia, she said, voice tight with alarm. I need you to confirm something. Is Teralith Solutions your operation? The entire business world is buzzing about it. Feigning mild amusement, I replied, Teralith Solutions? Yes, I'm aware it's making headlines. Why do you ask? She sighed, the sound sharp with frustration. Amelia, why keep me in the dark? We're family. We should be collaborating on something of this magnitude. Family? I nearly laughed. This was the same family that handed me a worthless piece of desert land while giving Charlotte everything. You mean, I said, my voice colder, the same family that ridiculed me and gave me this desert land while handing you hundreds of millions in assets. There was a pause on the other end. She tried a more diplomatic approach. Mom and Dad wouldn't have wanted you to hoard such a life-changing discovery. This is bigger than personal grudges. We can work together. I was done. I'm already more than satisfied with Teralith Solutions' current direction. We have all the backing we need. Good luck with the Donovan Empire. She didn't like that at all. Within days, Aunt Beatrice, the family's behind-the-scenes power broker, served me with a formal notification claiming that my grandfather's intellectual property rightfully belonged to the broader Donovan estate. They wanted immediate transfer. They threatened legal action. Too bad I'd prepared. The patents had been re-registered under a carefully established trust, and Teralith Solutions was protected by a complex shell network. The legal claims collapsed faster than they were filed, but that wasn't enough to stop them. A few days later, I was summoned to a family council at the Donovans' lavish Manhattan townhouse. I didn't want to go at first, but then I thought, why not see their panic up close? I walked into that expansive conference room, brimming with dark marble and the faint echo of countless deals. They used to dismiss me like an afterthought. Now, they eyed me warily, unsure how to proceed. Aunt Beatrice launched into her speech, but I wasn't interested in her words. Instead, I pulled out one of Grandfather Lionel's notebooks from my bag and flipped to a page where he had written, "Only Amelia believes in this land's true potential." I read it aloud, letting the words settle in the heavy silence. Then I looked at them and calmly said, "My parents never believed I could accomplish anything of worth. That was their critical error." And with that, I walked out, leaving my stunned relatives behind, feeling a surge of triumph. The story wasn't over yet, though. I knew them well enough to suspect they'd intensify their pursuit. My success had flipped everything they knew about me on its head, and Donovan pride wouldn't let them back down easily. A few days later, Charlotte invited me to dinner at an exclusive restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. I accepted, but only to observe her next move. She'd already tried the direct approach. Now, I figured she'd try something more subtle. When I arrived, she greeted me with a glass of wine in front of her, and after a few pleasantries, she got down to business. "We both know Teralith is bigger than just one person," she said. "My connections in finance could propel it to even greater success. We'd be unstoppable as partners." I swirled my untouched wine, weighing her words. "Why do I suspect you want a partner just to gain the upper hand and edge me out eventually?" She tried to keep her composure, but I wasn't fooled. "We're siblings," she said. "Maybe we didn't get along well, but surely we can find common ground in something like this." I couldn't stop the derisive laugh that escaped me. "You mean the way Dad found common ground with Grandfather Lionel? Locking him out of decision-making until he had no choice but to vanish into the desert with his last invention." Charlotte's composure cracked. "That's not a fair analogy." I wasn't done yet. "Your synergy would see me replaced by board members loyal to you or pushed into a subsidiary role while the Donovan name takes center stage. You can't fool me with empty offers." She sighed, muttering something about me being short-sighted. But I stood up, drained my water, and walked out. "Good luck with your other investments," I said. "Teralith is thriving without your involvement." And I left her there, frustration coloring her face as I made my exit. Am I wrong for turning my back on my family and building my own legacy? I don't know if this will get buried or if anyone will care, but I feel like I need to share what happened. I've been holding on to a lot of emotions, and writing it down helps. It all started when I received a call from Charlotte, my sister. She had that tone, half alarmed, half trying to play it cool. "Amelia, is Teralith Solutions your operation?" she asked, her voice strained. I kept it neutral, trying not to sound too smug. "Teralith Solutions? Yeah, I'm aware it's making headlines. Why do you ask?" She didn't waste time. "Amelia, why keep me in the dark? We're family. We should be collaborating on something this big." The mention of family hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't stop my mind from going back to that day in the attorney's office, the day Charlotte had ridiculed me in front of everyone. I had to remind her, You mean the family that handed me a worthless piece of desert land while gifting you hundreds of millions in assets? There was a pause. She tried to pivot, softening her approach. Mom and Dad wouldn't have wanted you to hoard something like this. This is bigger than personal grudges. We can work together. My resources are extensive. I wasn't buying it. I'm already more than satisfied with Teralith's direction. We have all the backing we need. Good luck with the Donovan Empire, I said, cutting her off. She was cold now, her voice tight. You don't understand the complexities. You can't do this alone. Controlling something like lithium could draw unwanted attention. I grinned, finally allowing myself a small victory. I assure you, Charlotte, I know exactly what I'm doing. Feel free to test me if you think otherwise. And just like that, I ended the call. A few days later, Aunt Beatrice, our family's power player behind the scenes, sent me formal notifications about my grandfather's intellectual property. Apparently, they believed it rightfully belonged to the Donovan estate and demanded an immediate transfer. They threatened legal action, but I was prepared. My patents had been re-registered under a carefully established trust. Teralith Solutions was shielded by a shell network, leaving no direct connection to the Donovan name. The family's legal claims collapsed faster than they could file them, which led to an emergency family council in their Manhattan townhouse. I wasn't planning on attending at first, but curiosity won out. When I walked into that conference room, I could practically feel their tension. Aunt Beatrice started talking about the family holdings, but all I could think was how they had dismissed me, treating me like an afterthought. Charlotte's eyes were filled with wariness now, not the condescending confidence she usually had. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I pulled out one of Grandfather Lionel's notebooks. I flipped through the pages until I found the one where he wrote, "Only Amelia believes in this land's true potential." I read it aloud, letting the words hang in the air. The room fell silent. I set the notebook down and said, "My parents never believed I could accomplish anything of worth. That was their mistake, not mine." And then I walked out. The family's attempts to retaliate escalated, but I had already built an impenetrable fortress of legal, financial, and operational defenses. They couldn't touch me. A few days later, Charlotte invited me to dinner at a high-end restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. I wasn't sure what angle she was working this time, but I went. When I arrived, she was already sitting at the table, a glass of red wine in front of her, her usual confidence now replaced by something more desperate. "Teralith is bigger than just one person," she started. "My connections could take it to the next level. We'd be unstoppable as partners." I swirled my wine, unimpressed. "Why do I suspect you want a partner only to edge me out?" Her composure cracked. "Amelia, we're siblings. Maybe we didn't get along, but surely we can find common ground here." I couldn't help but laugh, but it was a bitter sound. "You mean the way Dad locked out Grandfather Lionel until he had no choice but to disappear into the desert with his last invention?" Charlotte's face went pale. I pressed on. "Your kind of synergy would have me replaced by board members loyal to you, while the Donovan name takes the spotlight. You can't fool me anymore." She sighed, muttering something about me being short-sighted, but I wasn't having it. "Good luck with your other investments. Teralith is thriving without you." I left her sitting there, frustrated. Then, a few weeks later, Aunt Beatrice called. Her voice shook with emotion. "Amelia, you're tarnishing the Donovan legacy. This isn't what Henry and Margaret would have wanted." I clenched my phone, remembering how invisible I felt when my parents were alive. "They'd be appalled, all right," I said, "but for their own misjudgment, not mine." And I hung up, closing the door on their illusions. The weight lifted off me. I was finally my own person, not defined by their approval or disapproval. In the following weeks, Charlotte's world began to unravel. She'd once been the star of the Donovan fortune, but a series of bad real estate deals forced her to liquidate assets, including her Manhattan penthouse. She couldn't pay her debts, and before long, that penthouse was on the market. I didn't hesitate. I had one of my shell companies, flush with Teralith stock, purchase it at a steep discount. 2 weeks later, Charlotte called me again. This time, her confidence was gone. "Amelia, you bought the penthouse, didn't you? Please, let me buy it back. I just need more time." I could see the desperation in her eyes, but I wasn't about to back down. "You remember the attorney's office, Charlotte? The day you laughed when I got the ranch?" She looked away, unable to respond. "If you need help, contact Teralith Solutions, Investor Relations. I'm sure they'll treat you fairly." I walked away, leaving her at the table, crestfallen. I never meant to destroy her life, but I refused to cower beneath her or the Donovan legacy ever again. The ranch, the land I had been given, had become my symbol of independence. It was the very thing they thought would break me that propelled me to build Teralith Solutions into a billion-dollar enterprise. Life at the ranch became more peaceful with each confrontation. New labs were built, focusing on cutting-edge battery technologies and metals. Every evening, I thought about my grandfather, Lionel, imagining the satisfaction he would have felt seeing his dream finally come to life. Not long after, I received an invitation to speak at my old high school's commencement ceremony. The theme was finding value in the overlooked. It seemed almost poetic. I'd spent my years there feeling overshadowed by Charlotte, but now I was the one standing at the forefront of a revolution in lithium extraction. As I prepared for the ceremony, I looked at old photographs in my office, my father's guarded smile, my mother's strong posture, Charlotte's polished grin, and me, standing in the background with dreams no one saw. I smiled softly. Success wasn't about gaining their approval. It was about believing in myself. If you've been moved by this story, drop a Team Amelia in the comments or hit like to show your support. Your encouragement means everything to me. I've realized that success is about finding your own power, especially when others refuse to recognize it. My vengeance was never necessary. My achievements speak for themselves. And in the end, that's all that matters. Thanks for reading.
Did you enjoy the story? Want more hilarious Reddit tales like this? Or do you prefer juicy cheating and relationship drama? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.